Okay, got it. All right. Hope everybody has hit that okay button. We are at the top of the hour, so we will just going to get going. And I want to say welcome, hello to all of you who have joined us today with this wonderful speaker that we have. We have great speakers all the time, but Mary is just like the queen of new thought. I'm just so excited to have her here. We're going to just a short treatment, and we're just going to turn it over to her. I'm going to introduce her, and we'll turn it right over to her. Do want to let you know that we do encourage questions and comments. We'll let Mary say what she wants to say, and when she opens it up to questions and comments, please feel free to raise your electronic hand, which you'll find at the bottom where your heart is, where it says react. If you just hit that arrow, or no, the heart itself, you can see the hand for you to go ahead and raise your hand. So that's the easiest way for me to see you and recognize you in an orderly fashion. So thank you so much. Is anyone called to do a quick treatment for us this morning? Because Michelle, yes, great. I saw you reaching.
Oh, I'm like, is there another Michelle on here? Okay, yes, and we'll make this quick because we want to get to Mary. So just let's take a breath and bring ourselves fully into this present moment, this divine moment where infinite source, infinite life, infinite goodness, infinite love, infinite prosperity live. And knowing that we are that is us. And in that knowing of who and whose and what we are, we bring the fullness of that to this time together. Our hearts are open, our minds are open, and we are ready to drink in the wisdom of beloved Mary Morrissey. For that, I am so grateful. We call it good, we let it go, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you so much, Michelle. All right, so I'm not going to do a long introduction because we all know who this is, but her topic today is standing firm when your world is shaking. I'm not going to go into all of that. I think that speaks for itself. But I do want to say this, among all of her achievements and degrees in higher learning, Mary's favorites are the two black belts that she's earned, one in success and one in failure. So no matter what painful experiences you have in the past or present circumstances that are challenging you now, Mary is here to help you become a brave thinker and a dream builder and create the life you absolutely love. So we know she's a speaker and an author. She has a brand new book out. Um, let's see, it's called, I wrote this down so I wouldn't have to look around. Brave Thinking, the Art and Science of Creating a Life You Love. We are so excited to have you here, Mary, and let me just introduce Mary Morrissey. Thank you so much, Mary, for being here today.
Yay. Pjae, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be here. Oh, I'm going to tell you a personal story to start with, and then some of the tools that I learned by means of that opportunity. It felt like tragedy at the time. So we go back 21 years ago. 21 years ago, I'm in my second marriage to a CPA. The work I had started had grown and grown under the first not the first 5 years, but after I'd been doing it a while, then I found Jack Mullen, who was brilliant in his teaching models and church management. And while I'd gone to Raymond Hollowell's seminary, and got study the world's religions, and academically it was great, but practically there was no training on how to be a minister or deal with I mean, all the many things you all have mastered over the years of doing your work. So, but then it grew and grew and grew. And so now at this point, 21 years ago, there's on average 3,000 people coming every Sunday, much more on holidays. We're doing all kinds of wonderful things, building habitat houses, and it was a thriving, beautiful ministry. And I knew the man I married had depressive disorder when I married him, but I didn't really, even though I have a master's in counseling psychology, I had no idea what I was really in for. And he'd gotten sicker and sicker along the way, but he was still, running, and he had access to the board had hired him as the executive director, I think, or something. He had other businesses. But I opened up a piece of mail at home, and there was a mortgage letter from some mortgage company I didn't know we had. So when I asked him about it, he got very angry at me and told me, I'm a CPA, that's my side of the street. You do the ministry, that's on your side of the street. But something bothered me. And so ultimately, within maybe 2 weeks, I got all the books I could get out of the church and took it to a CPA firm that had not reviewed our books before. And they called me up and they said, you have a very, very big problem. There's some, I don't know that I'd even heard the term commingling before, but ultimately, then I got an attorney and blah, blah, blah. So finally, this was a very quick from this world that I had to, oh my gosh, I got to tell the congregation there's money missing. It was $1 million over the course of 5 or 6 years. And so ultimately, with once you lose the faith of your congregation, and we had bought that property. We had 100 acres, 50 of it was developed with a building that was 100,000 square feet and a retreat back and all of this. And the congregation had loaned money to buy that property with the plan that we would refinance and pay everybody back. And we were paying interest each month. And it was, a beautiful piece of work that we had all done together. Well, then when we lose the faith and everything drops, and I mean, there's still people who believed in what we were doing, but it just was like this vacating of the work. And we met with attorneys and the board and I, and they said, you need to file bankruptcy. You can't manage this. So that was very, very challenging. So the board and I resigned. We filed bankruptcy. And there were 5 churches that rose up out of that. This is all the summer of 2004. And I was just devastated. And the debt that we owed the congregants was $10 million. And they're saying, this is what bankruptcy is for. And one of the attorneys said, Mary, this is in the Bible. It's in Leviticus. And I couldn't come to terms with, in me, I mean, we could give the building back, equipment back. I mean, somehow I could rest with that in bankruptcy, but not my congregants. Because I knew in my heart, they didn't just trust the church, they trusted me. And I picked this man, they didn't pick him. And so I remember I told my attorney, we're not bankrupting that part. I'll take that as a personal debt. And he says, you can't do that. I mean, you don't even have a job now. Where's it going to come from? Have you ever been in a situation where you're with people's thinking and the way they're thinking, is a kind of thinking that basically we're all raised in, which Henry David Thoreau called common hour thinking. So the definition of common hour thinking and why we're all every one of us on fire with the truth that came out of transcendentalism, which was unifying. And, it's what happened in that Northeast with Emerson and Thoreau and that group that had so many trails of good. So anyway, then let me because part of this is still even a bit, when I talk about it, emotional for me. So I made that deal and I put it in an escrow and there's things you can do in Oregon where I was and ask them that I was going to have them have oversight because I wanted those congregants to know I was either going to get it. And when I told everybody, I'll either get it paid back or I will die having tried. And I will do my best. And so we made it 15% of every dollar I got, which meant, then think about it, 37% goes to the feds, then you get whatever your state taxes are, then you add another 15%. It meant out of every dollar I would get 33 cents. And I thought, oh, how am I ever going to do this? And my thinking had not yet matured to the place I could, we all can teach and we know the truth and continue to learn it more and more about the ultimate truth with a capital T. But I remember one day thinking, Mary, this is not big to God. This is big to you. So a penny, 10 million. It's just just do what you can do with where you are and what you have. And I just began to, not right away, it took me maybe 2 years to really get myself to where I was going to start a new work. I was doing some speaking, but I hadn't really started a new work yet. And my friend at the time, Bob Proctor, told me, he says, you got to get out of the nonprofit because you're never going to make that kind of money if you want to. So he said, and Marianne and Wayne Dyer and others had been telling me all along, you can, you'll be able to do this if you get in the regular profit-making world and create programs and this and that. But I hadn't had any. I hadn't done that. I didn't have that experience. When it all fell apart and I gave my last sermon, I just, and the next Sunday, we were still broadcasting. That would be the last broadcast all over the Northwest. I watched that sermon. And while I hated doing it, delivering that, I was very proud when I watched it on TV that I didn't like the situation at all, but given what it was, and there was no place to go. I'd always gotten up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go do church. Now there was no place to go, and I'm in an empty house, and the husband I had not yet divorced is in a mental institution with being diagnosed with bipolar. And it took me time to come to terms with that I could divorce him. Because at first I thought, well, if your husband has cancer, you don't divorce your husband for having cancer, and he's got mental illness. But then later, with some help, I realized not every bipolar person looks you in the eye and lies to you again and again and again. That's a different thing. That's character, and God bless him, but I'm not. This is not my life. And to this day, the two boys he had, and I'm good friends with the mom of those boys. In fact, one of them, he's 40 something, 44. He and his wife and 3 little kids are coming to spend the weekend with us here from Oregon, and we live in California. So the relationships survived beautifully. But that day I went down to the beach, and I wanted to go to a private part of Oregon coast, not the place where most of us would go and be tourists and hang out, because that I would always run into people that I knew. And I just needed some alone time, and I walked the beach. I pounded the beach that day and cried and cried and cried. And then I knew one day was not going to do it. So I went to the real estate office to see if there was a place I could rent, like one room in somebody's house, because I was, counting pennies at this point, and no job, no visible income. And the woman, the realtor says, "Oh, Mary, oh," and all the stuff that had been in the papers. And she said, "You've been through it." And I looked at her and she says, "You don't know me, but I've been to your women's retreats." And so I told her what I was looking for. And she said, "Well, I think I can help you." I said, I don't know if it's a month or 2 months. And she said there was somebody who had built a new house and it was beautiful, and they want to put it in the rental pool, but they're in a 4-month waiting for that. And they had told her if she knew somebody who would just pay the utilities, they could stay there. And it was all furnished. So I had this beautiful place to stay, and I pounded that beach and pounded that beach day after day after day, hours. And I had taken with me Dark Night of the Soul, written by a Christian mystic, St. John of the Cross, he's known as. And that was my handbook, and I read it and read it and read it. There's one section in that book where, and I don't know that I found this before this occurrence happened, but weeks into this, I'm not crying one of the days. I'm walking, and because as hindsight, you can see things with hindsight. So I could think, well, you could have noticed this and you could have noticed that, and you were just so busy and not paying attention, and this is on you. So I wasn't mad at him, but I was mad at the other CPA that the board had to be overwatching it. And most of all, I was mad at myself for things I could have seen and didn't. And I imagine we all have different stories, but moments in our lives where we felt like if we had been more aware, we would have done it differently. But the thing that happens is actually how we become more aware, whatever that is. We learn to walk by falling down. we didn't just get up and walked. And yet, as we get older, we think we should always get it right. Well, this was not just a small not right. This was massive to me and to others. So I'm walking the beach one day, several weeks into it, and I was there ultimately 90 days. And I wasn't crying, and I'm walking the beach, and I heard, first time I'd heard from that still small voice, I was broadcasting grief so loud I couldn't hear it. And I heard, dark chapter, not your whole book. And that was the first time it landed on me. I could write new chapters. And then as I was reading Dark Night, this is probably the most impactful thing I learned from that essay. When the dark night comes upon you. Now, Henry David Thoreau writes in his very, famous quote about if you advance confidently in the direction of your dream, he says, if you walk confidently in the direction of your dream, that's an if, you have a choice. St. John says, no, this is going to happen in everybody's life, just a little different version of it, but where it's something you absolutely don't want in your life, but it happens. It could be a disease, it could be a divorce, it could be getting fired. I mean, whatever, something that to you personally at the time feels big. And he said, when the dark night comes upon you, here's the if you surrender to it, three things will happen. The first is a feeling of release because you've stopped fighting it. You can't change it. Here it is. So a feeling of release. The second is a feeling of relief because you've set it down. And the third, he says, is a strange feeling that will come upon you that you don't want it to end too soon because you actually do want everything it came to give you. And I hadn't gotten to that place yet, but it struck me that, okay, this is a process I'm in that is soul making if I do this piece well. And that began a journey for me, a deepening journey for me. And the year before, we'd had a couple come to sing at the church. I think his name was J.D. Martin. Some of you may have had,
Yes, that's his name, J.D. Martin.
Yeah, and he wrote this song. It was called One Heart. But the first line of it just echoed. Here we are with this 100,000 square foot building and all the things that were happening in that. And the song was, there's a new church on the horizon, made of light, not of stone, coming to all the nations. We are not alone. And I didn't know why that had kept, and it would echo even as I was walking the beach. It would take me years to realize that the work I do today is most often, we do a number of in-person things, but most often my work is through the internet, through light in a different way. Then, so I walked the beach. Came back, started accepting some speaking engagements, and my life proceeded. A couple years later, I met this wonderful man, Joe Dickey, who was president of the Big Sky Retreats. Some of you've been there or went there. He had studied the same thing for many, many years. He and his wife, Robin, were singers at events we had. And she had died in 99. He had two kids that he was raising by himself. And I had no intention at all. I raised my four. I did Ed Morrissey's two boys. I'm full. But over time, I not only fell in love with him, I fell in love with the kids. So a couple of years after that, we dated 2 years, and then I moved to California, and that was in, 2000. Well, we got married in 2007. So, and my life began to build, and I began to build a work and create things. I think I want to really say to you is that we're in an evolving era with the way people get information. The, you know, streaming, I mean, all kinds of, where used to church had just something people did. So it was enrolling a community. But what I know for sure with AI and with all the things going on, none of it can replace community. So as you do your work and craft messages that are helpful, inspiring, and something people can take home and put to work in their lives, uh, I know that the community piece of this cannot be digitized. It's not going to happen that way. Uh, and so ultimately, I started whittling that down, that $10 million a little at a time. And I did this visualization that, well, when I teach dream building. There's an art and science to this. We don't get to not think. That thought, every thought has a vibration to it. And that vibration generates a feeling. So when we say, I feel anxious or I feel worried, it's an effect. Feelings are not primary, they're secondary. Primary is thought, and the thought has a vibration. That vibration gets activated in the brain, up and down the spinal cord to every part of our physical body and beyond in the spirit body. So if we're anxious, we've been thinking thoughts that generate anxiety. And that's what I had to really work with my thinking about this big number, to me, $10 million. So I just started creating a quantum possibility, and I'm standing in a bank, and I'm writing I'm getting the last check uh, to pay off the debt. And I'm in my mind, I imagined, let's make the last check $1,700,000. And so I'm writing this in my imagination. We teach the subconscious mind doesn't know any difference between a vividly visualized experience and what we would call real world experience. So I'm creating this experience of being uh, writing this check, getting a cashier's check, and walking out the bank door. And as the door closes behind me, I look up in the sky and I say, thank you, God. Not only that I'm paying it off, but who I had to become in the process to achieve that. So I made that agreement in 2004, and I worked it out. So the last check I wrote was $1,700,000. I walked out of that bank, and that was in 2017. So it took me some time, 14 years, or almost 14 years. But I'm proud of that. But I'm also prouder of what Spirit gave me by here's here's a challenge that I'm up to. Are you? And it's a lot of training, self-training, monitoring. So we have thoughts. Those thoughts generate feelings. Those feelings dictate what actions we will or will not take. And those are always congruent with our results. We all know if you pick up a remote control for a television, you turn it on, what's on the screen, the pictures are what you were tuned to before you turned it off. When you turn it on, the pictures we're seeing are an exact match to the frequency we're tuned to. So if we don't want challenges and problems and, oh my God, this could happen, get off CNN. Constantly negative news. Get on a different, you change the frequency. Easy to do with a remote control. Not so easy in the human experience. But still, that's what we teach. The definition of common hour thinking is looking to circumstances, situations, and conditions for permission to live as you want to live, do what you want to do, give what you want to give. It's condition based. If I had the money, I could do that. Versus, this is the gift of our second revolution in the United States, which is called the revolution of thinking, that came out of the work of our really all of us who are in New Thought, it came out of the genesis of what's known as transcendentalism, that there is a part of us that is of infinite nature. So we have a physical nature and we have an infinite side to our nature. And that nature is beyond all circumstance, situation, and condition, meaning the minute you think it up, that possibility exists. You and the infinite, we teach this, are co-creators. So 10 million, a new church building for you, whatever seems like the challenge or the problem is an invitation. It's not a stop sign to us. It's actually a qualifier. Whatever it seems that we're in this moment is seeking to be transformed. When the year Joe and I got married, for years, Wayne Dyer had said to me, and I'm going to stop after this, Wayne Dyer had said to me, Mary, someday you got to go to Concord. And he says, the vortexes there are so strong. Concord, Massachusetts, where Thoreau and Emerson, where this all generated from. Transcendentalism. So there's a transcendent self, meaning that part of us is transcendent to every circumstance, situation, and condition. It's more. But then we kind of get capsulated in the thinking that we were all raised with. We have decades of training in that thinking. So as we go to our New Thought churches and we start to learn a different way of thinking, the support structures that you bring to the wonderful people who have found you and building the community that you're in with you is probably the greatest gift that they ever will get, is the teaching that you do that helps them liberate from being governed by circumstance, situation, and conditions. So Joe and I told Wayne, I've been to vortexes, I've been to Sedona, I don't need to go to Concord. And then, of course, everything fell apart. And now I'm speaking at a little church in Maine that summer. And Joe was over, he was in an old time rock and roll band at the time, Crew Cuts, Shaboom, Shaboom, Earth Angel. Some of you are old enough to remember some of those songs. And we were going to meet up in Boston, and we did. And we went over to Concord. And I felt after that first trip that I had been very arrogant with Wayne, that I should have just taken him at his word, but it wasn't evidently the right time for me. We bought a copy of Walden after we saw the Emerson House and the Manns. And then we went out to Walden and had a picnic, and we were reading from the Walden book. And it was my turn to read, and I'm in the conclusion of the book. And here's where Thoreau says, I've learned, he did a 2-year, 2-month, 2-day experiment in learning to live from what we would call the green growing edges of his own becoming. Like just to really, he said, I came to the woods because I wanted to have life teach me what it had to teach me and not find out when I died that I had not even truly lived. And so in the conclusion, he says, I learned this at least by my experiment. If one advances confidently in the direction of their dreams, endeavoring not to get to the dream, endeavoring to live the life they've imagined. So I'm being the person who's writing that check long before physically I could write the check. I'm practicing that day when I read that whole quote. If one advances confidently in the direction of their dream, endeavoring to live the life they've imagined right now, in the here and now, they will pass an invisible boundary. Because it's not a boundary of circumstance and situation, it's a boundary of our thinking. They will pass an invisible boundary. And all sorts of things will begin to happen. New, more universal, more liberal laws will establish themselves, or the old laws will be rearranged in one's favor. Nevertheless, one will live with the license of higher order of beings. And when I read that out loud to Joe that day, I said, oh my God, Joe, I've studied this for decades. This is not just a great quote. Everybody knows it's a great quote, but somewhere in us, we know this is actually a code. So I built all the dream builder work that I have built. I had written a book on dream building, but I didn't have the science of it well capsulated. until I really went deep in this. Um, and I know you teach the same things. So I guess the summary of um, my wanting to just share with you that we all have dark times, but they are chapters. They're not meant to be our whole books. Nothing, our history does not define us. Uh, informs us. Uh, and we're really all on the same journey, just discovering how that we all contain so much more than we have ever known, including now. And we're far greater than we've ever, even with us and all the study we've all done, we're all still way more than we've ever known and contain much more than we've ever thought. All right, so I will stop and you can ask questions or just share something in your life, and we can get this last half hour where we just get to hang out with each other.
Absolutely. So if anyone has a comment, thought, a question, please raise your digital hand. You'll see it in the bottom of your screen where it says react, and you'll see that heart. You should be able to raise your hand and ask the question. Thank you so much, Mary. So don't be shy. It's Mary. She's here. She can answer your questions.
It's going to be boring if you don't raise your hand.
Yes. Come on. All right. There we go. Okay, Laura, the brave one. You can unmute yourself, Laura. There you go. Where'd she go?
Okay, I'm here. I put my hand down, so I disappeared.
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you, kind of sort of in person again, Mary. I have been to a Dream Builder live years ago, and somehow, even though listening to your teachings haven't quite stuck. So aside from begin with the end in mind, having that picture and that visual, I've heard you say, really feel it. I still feel like I'm missing something. So if you were to put together the magic formula, how would you simply of how you create a picture and you lived it and you got there?
Well, pick something you'd like to manifest. What's something you would like?
I am growing my coaching business, and I would love to have a full calendar of 10 clients a month.
10 clients a month. Okay. So remember that this piece is not about the tasks that we do in order to, there will be things that we will do. But first so let's imagine, it's Laura, right? Laura,
yes.
Laura. Okay. So where would you just imagine a moment in your life, Laura, where you're standing and you've got your calendar on your wall and you're looking at that calendar and you see these 10 beautiful names that are spread throughout the calendar over the course of your month. And you're seeing are you working 2 days a week, 3 days a week?
4 days a week. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to work 4 days a week. So some days you'll have two people you coach, and then, yep, and some days 3. And where are you standing in your home where you're having this moment? This is a dream achieved moment. So for me, writing that last check, that's a dream achieved moment. I'm no longer trying to get there. This is my moment. It's done. So you're looking at your calendar. What else can we build in your imagery? Because we want the picture clear, the feeling strong, the gratitude. Gratitude is the frequency that's harmonious with abundance. And there's layers of gratitude. One is kind of knee-jerk gratitude. I get a compliment, or somebody gives me a card or an object, and I'm grateful. But that's a stimulus. That gratitude is a reaction versus generative gratitude. We have the ability to generate the frequency of gratitude for no reason. Even Paul in I think it was Corinthians or Philippians, he writes he's in a Roman prison, which were dank, dark, and he would die there, but infested horrible places, and both rodent and disease. And he writes, I have learned this: in whatever condition I find myself, therein to be grateful. Now, he's noticed very carefully the words in and not for. He didn't say I'm grateful for my conditions, in whatever condition. So I'm in a condition physically where I've got a $10 million bill I want to pay, a debt, and but in my experience of myself, it's done. If one advances confidently in the direction of their dream, I'm clear that is my dream, endeavoring to live the life they've imagined. So you have a 10-person full calendar slate of wonderful people that every time I would add this, because I started my new business and I did a ton of coaching for lots and lots of people. And I would notice after a while that when some of their names came up on my screen, I just go, oh, goody, I get to talk to. And then there were some clients along the way where their name pops up and you go, oh man, because they tended to, have a lot of complaint, not usually about me, but just in life. And it was heavier lifting. So I started qualifying that I have 10 wonderful clients who, when I see their names pop up on my phone, I am thrilled at the opportunity to be the person to help them today. But for all of us, if we're working on something, a goal, achievement we want to make, we want to put ourselves in a very clearly designed dream achieved moment. It's not a dream achieved life, it's a dream achieved moment. You're standing, you're feeling it. This is right in the center of transcendentalism. So I'm sure in the training that you've had for coaching, that you got trained in some of the economic engine parts of it, where how you make yourself available to new people, how you give them an experience, and then you offer them. And my model with Dream Builder is helping people get defined. They're most often just our general population, while they're interested in having better results in their life. The art is in the vision. The science is in the vibration. So why you want to dream achieve moments is you've got a vision and it'll help you hold the line of that vibration. So if I am the woman who has 10 clients, what is that woman doing today? She's not sitting oh, I hope I get this, and why can't this work? That vibration is this to actually the materialization of the vision that we're holding. So does that help you at all?
A lot.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Thank
because
you.
now I'm going to change my dream achieved moment. Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Awesome.
Mitch, you are next on my screen. You're the next one to raise your hand.
Excellent. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
I've been to Dream Builder Live. Fantastic. Everyone should go. Everyone should go.
Thank you, Mitch.
So, Mary, my question is kind of around this. I think what we've been experiencing, this explosion of thinking, of spirit, of spiritual arts. Just 10 years ago, it was a very different world. We kind of had the market cornered in many ways, especially since, The Secret. And now I've noticed, especially after COVID, everybody's on TikTok learning, learning the law of attraction, sitting in their pajamas, watching, church. I run a center and I'm competing with that. I'm competing with people just staying comfy in their jammies watching on YouTube, when the real experience of community is getting them through the door. So, I know you have a lot of experience with running centers, much more than I do. I would just love to hear some of your thoughts in today's world, what we could be doing to draw in people and kind of give a new, fresh lens that maybe TikTok or other, platforms aren't giving.
I would get my attention off and I would never use the word competing. because once I think I'm competing, now I have something, this is the energy.
Right.
So let them watch TikTok, let them do whatever they want to do. You create something that is, people don't want to miss your Sunday because they never know for sure what's going to happen.
Ooh,
That you bring somebody, in, or you if you have kids, have the kids do something on the stage, or that is it you just, what was, I think it was Bacon was his last name. I'm trying to remember. He was Robert Bacon. He was a English minister, and he said, they asked him, why do people travel around the world to come and listen to you? And he goes, I think it's just that every Sunday morning I set myself on fire for God, and they come to watch me burn. Yeah. So your vibration, if I'm you, I want my vibration to be so infectious. And here we are, we just that kind of thing, that you wrap them in this energy. Your vibration, my mentor, Jack, told me, he said, here's the deal, Mary. Every Sunday, you be the first person at the property. You unlock the door and you go through all the empty rooms of your church area and you fill it with love. You fill it with love. And he said, you do that enough times, you keep doing it. I did it. We were, this last property before the church died, was out at 17 miles out of Portland and down a 2-lane road. And I would get there at 5 in the morning and it was dark, and open that door and it's 100,000 square feet. Now, I didn't go to every single room every single Sunday, but all the major rooms where the congregation was going to be, for sure. And just as a practice, he said, sometimes ministers think that success is they just waltz in and give their sermon and they're done. He said, that's not really church building. Church building is the building of an energy field. So that's my highest recommendation.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Patricia, you're next.
Hi, Mary.
How are you?
Oh my
Nice to
goodness,
see
you are
you.
my queen of gratitude. And I wanted to share that in 1999, after my dark night of the soul, and after going through a week-long sacred silence retreat at Unity Village, several weeks after returning home, I had this vision appear, and I called it the Two Doors vision, in which it revealed three things. It revealed our purpose in life is a realization of oneness with God. Second, it revealed that we have choices in how we awaken, consciously through gratitude or unconsciously learning lessons through the challenges of life. And third, it revealed that no matter which path we choose, the ultimate destination is heaven on earth. Well, that fits so well with what you have always been bringing us. And then you're sharing today. I've heard you say that quote from Walden many, many, many times, and yet today it really stuck, because what I've been doing lately is asking people to recite the World Healing Meditation by John Randolph Price with feeling every day, because like you did with paying off, writing that check for $1.7 million and paying off the debt, we can co-create heaven on earth right here, right now, because that world healing meditation is, to me, the most perfect description of what heaven on earth looks like. So I'm going to put it in the chat, and I invite everyone to begin saying that with feeling every day, and also personally invite other members of groups that you belong to begin saying that. And I would like your feedback on this, Mary, please.
Great. Well, thank you for posting it. I had forgotten about that. So pull it right up in front of my archives now. Oh, thank you, Janine.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Patricia, yeah.
Celeste, you have the next comment?
Yes, hopefully an easier question than some of the previous ones. You talked about 3 steps in the process, and the first was release, and the second was relief, And I didn't get the third.
Yeah, this is when you surrender to, you can't change what's happened. It's here. So when you surrender to it, knowing that he said, the first thing you try to do is make it go away. When you discover your power is not enough to make it go away, if you surrender to it, three things will happen. The first is a feeling of release, because you're not fighting it anymore. There's a level of acceptance. It has nothing to do with liking it, but here it is. The second is a feeling of relief, because the weight of carrying it, you've set it down. I can't change this. And then a strange feeling will come upon you that you actually don't want it to go away too soon, because you do want everything it came to give you. Those are the three from St. John. So it took me some time to get to the place where I went, okay, I actually want everything this came to give me. And then it was probably no more than 2.5 years later. I remember thinking one day, oh my gosh, as big and wonderful as that seemed and was, the world I live in today is so much more expansive. And if that had worked, I would still be there. And there felt smaller than the world I was navigating, and the freedom that I had, and the ability to create something that I knew could help people without having to have board approval. My inner board gave me approval. And I think most of you have created boards where it's very collaborative and wonderful. And I didn't mean that as a hard thing on boards. It was just my own constriction around that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. Wen, you're next in line with your question or.
Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
I'm from Unity Kitchener in Ontario, and thank you for sharing so vulnerably.
I didn't catch your first name.
Wendy?
Oh, Wendy. Hi, Wendy.
Hi. My friends call me Wen, so please call me Wen. Thanks for sharing so vulnerably. When I think of where you were, I wrote down a quote that came to mind, which was, our self-worth is not found in the minds of other people.
Oh, that's a great line. A great quote.
And when I think of where you are now, I wrote down, our attitude determines our altitude. Mm-hmm. And I see you soaring now, and it was inspiring, your talk, and I thank you for sharing today.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Wen.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Nick, you are next.
I really enjoyed the anecdote you told at the beginning about the bankruptcy of your church. I've been working through
those words, Nick. If we just take those words as standalone, I really enjoyed the anecdote of how your church went bankrupt. But thank you. I hear you. I don't think very many listeners would understand that line.
maybe I still need to work on languaging.
No, you're great. It's great. I just thought, isn't it wonderful we can say that out loud, and we understood what that meant.
Yeah. I've been working through a personal problem recently, and even though in a certain sense it was a lot smaller than yours, it certainly didn't involve $10 million. But it also occurred to me that in the mind of God, and you mentioned this, it's all the same. It's the same problem.
It's all the same.
And I also want to take a moment.
Wait, maybe we don't want to move so fast past that. You have something. Is it still existent in the physical world of your life?
I would say Yes, but I'm solving it. And I wanted to actually thank a couple of the people who are here today who helped me solve it. I've been discussing it with members of Anton, and I want to thank Bill and Michelle for making some really valuable input. And I also thought the other thing that struck me was you told how you were in despair for a moment, for a bit of time. You didn't know how you were going to go forward. I felt the same way for what I'm now classifying as a smaller problem, but I felt the same way, and I think that that's part of the process. And I know enough at this point in my life to say, impossible? No, that's wrong. And I actually had the good fortune to have personal friends who said, no, it's not impossible. But that feeling of getting ready to give up is actually part of the process. And I think we need to watch out for when it comes up and just be ready to um, push it away. Or speak to our higher mind speaking to our lower mind. I'm not quite sure what language to use, but that's something we've got to work through.
That works. Yeah, the part of us that, so I use a cross to symbolize our nature. The vertical is the infinite side of our nature. The horizontal, I have a birth date and I have a death date that's in invisible ink right now for me. And I imagine it's way out there. However, the place of the intersection in this moment here and now, then I have access to my physical nature as well as my spiritual nature. So when you said higher mind to lower mind, yeah, there's so from you and I found it helps people a lot to say part of me is feeling this and this and this, because there's always a part of us that is not in despair, that's that knows all things, and it's
Yeah.
accessible to us. But we are in this human experience, and so much of us is grounded in the physicality of the experience, that just to have that part of me is just really devastated. Now, I wouldn't have said that about 21 years ago. I would have said all of me is devastated. Then that's the place I was in at the time. But I think your point is so important for all of us to remember that there's a process, and the despair part is just part of the process. It's okay to, you know, uh, which psalm I'm trying to think. But anyway, basically, oh, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. This shadow meaning it's not real, it appears real. I will fear no evil. So, but the important thing is, yes, as we walk through that shadow of the valley of the death of a church or the death of idea, whatever it is, we don't want to pitch a tent there. So, you know, there is a pity party time, but like all parties, they have an opening and an ending. And moving through those skillfully is part of our spiritual growth, I think, really is what you're saying, Nick.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Nick, for your question. Thanks, Mary, for your answer. I'm sorry, we just have time for like one more, I think, and then we've got some wrapping up to do. So I'm going to go ahead and call on Margaret. Keep your hand up, though, if you, Brzezinski, I saw that your hand was up, so I'm going to keep your hands up. And since we have some time, we'll go ahead and let you speak, but I don't think we are going to. Margaret?
Hey, Mary, I want to thank you so much for your many teachings over the years. I, for over a decade, have been teaching Prosperity Plus from your wonderful CDs, and it's been a true success in my spiritual center, a true success. I was wondering if you were going to come up, or if you're still involved in maybe moving on to number 4, Prosperity Plus 4. Just wondered.
Oh, thank you. I'll park that in my possibility file. We have thought about it. I just put, I've been creating other programs. So I was so happy. And 3 felt like a completion, you know, like a Trinity.
Yeah.
Of them. I'm so grateful that we did that. This started with in the very early stages of my work, and we had a little church in Burbank, maybe half an hour from where I was living with Joe. We've moved south of LA now, but and Harry Morgan Moses, the minister of that church, they were struggling, and then I think he had left, and they were struggling, but they didn't have a consistent circulation part of the teaching. That
Right.
I mean, this is all both scriptural and science based. Why we become more as we give. So that's where the first one came from, and that came out in 2010, I think.
That's when I taught it, immediately after you finished it. And I waited for number 2, then I waited for number 3. But you know what? I can keep teaching. They each stand alone and they stand together. I could keep teaching number 3 forever. Thank you so much. It's changed many people's lives.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Margaret, would you put the names of the book you just talked about, or the CD in the chat, please,
Yes,
for everybody?
sure.
Thank you. Have a time for or a comment from you, Reverend Ann?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm from sunny Jamaica. We have had the privilege of Dr. Mary coming to Jamaica twice.
I
So
know.
she knows our church very well, the Temple of Light. Thank you. And I wanted to just ask her to expand just on one idea. Yes, everybody's worried about expansion of our communities because yes, the numbers have gone down. Well, I would say about 50%. She mentioned blessing coming in at 5 o'clock and blessing the areas that the congregation. Is there anything else that you would like to tell us, basically, that can help us to go forward with, yes, because it's not about competition, it's about consciousness, it's about having something new and different so that persons are always enthusiastic to come to the community. Can you help us with some more objectives, Reverend Mary?
When I went when Jack Boland agreed to mentor me and I flew to Detroit, he had me make a list of, as he was showing me what he was doing, he had me make a list of everything I could do now that could alter. One of which is he was meticulous in order. He would say first law of heaven is order. So if you look around and if there's boxes, I mean, it seemed like such a little thing to me. What difference is that going to make? But with a new order, making sure boxes are put away and there's a new order. You know how we all feel when you clean off a desk or you
Yes.
clean out a drawer. It was that little bit, but it releases a piece of energy, and the same thing will happen in the church. So he had me anyway, I had 67 things I could go to work on right away that I put in order of what I was going to do first, all the way to 67. It took me several months to execute on all those, along with the work that we all do. But there was go to the church, be there first person in the church, fill it with love. Number 2, put order in it. Number 3, when in sermon building, in the message, which is really the message and the music, that they go together, that you're never surprised about the music that's going to happen, so you can weave in part of the messaging that's in the music into your sermon, and that when they're driving home, what are they saying they got out of the message? So it's a form of dream building. So if I tell these stories or give these points, and he said, you always want something practical they can take home and go to work on. So this tool, when there was a minister, he was trained by Irvin Seal in New York City, and he had come to Oregon when I was a young woman, married, 2 kids, in my 20s, and I went to hear him. And in the service, I'd never heard anything about New Thought. He said, just in his message, nothing's bad unless you think it's bad. I remember thinking, well, that's not true. I mean, there's bad things in this world. And I'm kind of like, eh. And he says, I know what you're thinking. And I'll agree with you. There are things in the world we would all like to change. But nothing is all good or all bad on its own. It's our thinking about it. So the next time something happens in your life that you think is bad, hit your internal pause button and wait 3 days. During those 3 days, turn your curiosity up on what possible good there could be in this. And I heard that, but I went home. 2 days later, my kid's dad, there was a massive layoff at his work, and he came home and I don't have a job. We have no income. And I got panicky and then I heard that little, nothing's bad unless you think it's bad. And I said, but this seems bad. What do you say to do? Hit your internal pause button. Where is that? I didn't even know I had a knower, that I could hit an internal pause button and wait 3 days, get curious about what possible good there could be. And if I can't find it in 3 days, then I can panic. I haven't resigned my right to panic. And we began to work with that. And because we were thinking on the frequency of what possible good, he started saying, well, I drive so far to work. What if I work closer to home? And I was still the thinker who thought, well, then how? How are you going to do that? How are you going to? Anyway, by Thursday, this happened Tuesday night, Thursday, I come home I was in my undergraduate work, and he's beaming, and he'd gotten a better paying job closer to home. He could ride his bike to work, which he loved doing. And I hadn't suffered the same way I had always suffered, waiting for a circumstance to change before I could feel better. And that tool on a Sunday, a minister gave me that. So when we're thinking about on their drive home, what are they talking about that they got inspired by and can put to work in their lives? Those
Beautiful.
I'd say. And oh my gosh, Anne, so nice to connect with you today. Thank you. Yeah.
Just
Thank you very much.
Before we hang out, I want to issue an invitation. I hadn't thought about doing this, but I'm happy to do this. We do a Dream Builder Live. We do virtual Dream Builders. There'll be one in September. But as a minister, I would really encourage you to come to the in-person Dream Builder Live in January. We'll be at Universal City in Los Angeles. Beautiful hotel. It's a Hilton there. The experience of it is so different for you and what you can take home and put to work in your own work. And for any of you, I would be happy to give you a completely free VIP ticket.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you're my heart to yours. You're welcome to come.
Oh,
Bring somebody with you. I'll give them a ticket too. And particularly if it's something that somebody you're close to and is interested in growth. I always tell people, don't bring somebody here that you want to fix. That's not.
yeah. How would they get in touch with you to get the ticket, Mary? Do you have should email you, or how would they do that? Or should they just call your Jessica to
you can give them Jessica's phone number.
Jessica's information?
Jessica is my executive assistant, or you can write. I'll give you my personal email.
Okay.
And if you want to find what we're doing online, it's bti.com, bravethinkinginstitute.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So I gave you the definition of common hour thinking. Brave thinking we define as the courage to think and live from a vision, regardless of the circumstances, situations, or conditions. And I didn't have it in the words back then, 21 years ago, but that's exactly what I was doing with the Thoreau work. So that said, Mary, Mary, M Today, Today, @gmail.com is my personal email. And we'd be happy to make sure you get tickets. I can give you the exact dates right now. That would be good. Let's go to it. Yeah, it'd be a great way to start 2026. Dream Builder Live you would come in on probably Thursday, because it's all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So the days of the training are the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of January.
Okay.
24th. Yeah.
Thursday through Sunday, you say, right?
Well, Thursday you check into the hotel, but we start.
Right, yeah, but Friday through Sunday is the
Friday,
actual thing.
Friday,
And what were the dates again?
23rd, 24th, and 25th
yeah, January.
of January. I'll put that out to everybody. That's
Good.
I'll get with Bill and see how we can send this out to everybody that's on the call today.
Be
So
great.
we get that going.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mary. We definitely run over time, which is okay. We don't care about that. But Bill, you have anything you want to share? I know we have so much information. Thank you so much, Mary. It's just fabulous.
Well, I love
you, Mary.
Anton.
And thank you, Steve, for sharing the fresh baked cookies. A reminder, the Anton Retreat is coming up in Unity Village the first week in October. Registration is still open. You can attend this fabulous event. There's going to be an open house on Tuesday night that week, which is going to be live streamed, a concert with Ricky Byers, a presentation by Martha Creek. You can also participate virtually. Virtual registration is open, so you can take part from the comfort of your own home. And you also get priority access to the recordings of all of the sessions. So it's the next best thing to being there. We have a workshop coming up on the 20th of September with Mary Morrissey. You can register for that now. And the next Thought Leader Thursday, which is coming up a month from now, our special guest is Ricky Byers, who is going to sing and tell us about all the cool things that are going to happen when she's the music director at the retreat.
Yes, so quickly. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Does anyone else have anything for Michelle?